My name is Hildah Logun. Um, I'm married, of course, blessed with 4 children, 2 girls and 2 boys. I'm a minister of the gospel, and I'm a very busy person. I always like something that always keep me busy, always get me going. And as such, just to back that up, I'm a businesswoman. I do catering. I do cater a lot because I even have a catering background. I also have a little bit of nursing experience. I also an author. I have the opportunity to write a book titled Motherhood Shall Profit Me. And right now I find myself, just part-time aside from ministry work, doing a little bit of sales because like I said, I always like something that will keep me busy and get me going. Ministry on its own is super busy, but there should be something. It shouldn't be just all work and no play. So I use that as a part-time. It makes me meet people, and it also gives me the opportunity, to share the gospel with as much people as I interact with on a daily basis. Okay, so putting those two things together, being a mom and also pastoring, those are two big things to put together. But one of the things I stand to enjoy, aside from the grace of God, is the help of my 2 older girls and my husband as well. My 2 older girls, help me with some of the things I have to do, in the home front, and including my husband, especially with my younger boys. We have to go around, dropping them off for soccer, one activity or the other. But sometimes my husband is far away from home. If he has to go walk outside of town, he really has to be there, and I have to be there. But it's just finding pleasure in what you're doing. As long as you find pleasure in what you're doing, no matter how tedious it may be, at the end of the day, there is always going to be room for you to give thanks. Because I try to see it as there are so many people that want to do what I'm doing. Is it that they don't have the opportunity, or there is even, it's either they don't have the opportunity to do that. So I have it, I can do it. I think that's a plus. So I just take it a step at a time. With the church, there are ministers, you're not just there on your own. You're dealing with people, and when you work with people, you have to have good relationship. So good relationship with not just the congregation, but also the minister. So we work hand in hand. And of course, everything do fall in pleasant places. Okay, should I say maybe the better part of my life was back in Nigeria. I was in Canada for some times when I was young before I went back home, and we actually had to come back here. And I think I came back here, can't remember, it's now getting into decades, but that's okay. Well, back in Nigeria then, I remember around my 17, 18 years, I gave my life through World Bible School. That's a correspondence college. I remember one of my mates then, we just graduated college, and he gave me the World Bible, I think it's World Bible School, WBS. So he gave me that book. I read through it, and that was when, they say if you want to give your life, things like that. I gave my life. But I had to rededicate my life in 2003. So 2003, I had to rededicate my life because in between that time, I initially say, yes, I do, accepting Jesus as my Lord and personal Savior. It was just like saying that there was, I went back still doing the normal things I was doing. I love God. I could even remember as when I was around 13, telling my dad I want to fast, and we don't go to church. We don't do anything. We're just normal people. We wake up in the morning, do whatever you want to do. But I remember that day I said I wanted to fast, and he was like, why do you want to fast? Pretty much the reason why I wanted to fast then, I wanted to save my money, that I take to school. So I said, okay, I want to. And he said, you shouldn't fast. You're going to go hungry and things like that. So I begin to see, by the time I put everything together, I see that it is God, trying to prepare me gradually. So in 2003, I eventually rededicated my life, and of course, I didn't look back. I didn't stop, and I just love God, and I just want to do anything that will please God. There are things that, of course, are challenging, that might want to challenge your faith. But one of the things that have really helped me is having the right people beside me. I remember vividly when I eventually came back to Canada, things were in the way you have envisaged it to be, and there are so many distractions out there. You may just even want to quit and say, you know what, I want to do my own thing. But I remember one of my friends, in Nigeria, she actually, gave me a call and said, Mrs. Logun, are you okay? What's wrong with you? How is your salvation and things like that? And immediately I had that part. I knew God was really sending a message to me to let me know, I see you, I know your struggles, I know what you're going through, so don't throw the towel. So that's, from that point on, it's not as if maybe I wasn't doing what I'm supposed to do, but the energy is no longer there. The energy was reducing. I was like almost, in that reclining, like I wasn't doing what I used to do, wholeheartedly, because I'm like, things are not the way. But, that word coming to me that time around, really helped me. And it was kind of a springboard. I got back up and I just, kept on doing all I could do. And here I am today, still moving. I can't stop. I have one of my boss that will tell us that, just make sure you're moving. Even if you're working, keep on working. If you're running, keep on running. Just make sure you're not standing in the same position. It's dangerous to stand still, because you can easily sit back and get into that sleeping mode. Okay, I had actually known for a very long time that someday I might be behind the mics. I caught a revelation shortly after I rededicated my life. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know I caught that vision. But I wasn't actually running to see, let this vision, come to pass like that. Like I said, I was just busy doing my own thing, but God bless one of my pastors, with the Redeemed Christian Church of God in which I minister. We have different parishes, and at any point in time, God can tell you to go to another parish. So I left one of the bigger parishes back in Ontario then to another smaller parish. The Lord had ministered to me that I should go walk with that woman. And I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go for reasons, for humanly, like normal thinking reasons. Number one is because of my children. The bigger church was a well-settled church. They had the children department. They have everything intact. And my older girls were in that growing age where I think, they need more of the things of God. I'm sorry I have to go back a little bit so that, you have an understanding of where I'm coming from. So after battling with that for a little while, like I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I actually had to obey. So I went, like I said, it was a small church. We went there, and I give God the glory. That was where my older daughter was able to pick, her ministry, because then she got there and she was among the young adult then that was singing. So she was there singing, and my second daughter too was also the one behind the media stuff, technical media stuff. So when I got there, the pastor then recommended me to become the ordained minister. So in the Redeemed Christian Church of God, we have 3 offices: the office of the deacon or deaconess, the assistant pastor, and the full pastor. God knows I didn't want to do that. I'm like, excuse me, no, I didn't want to do it. I didn't really believe you have to add title to whatever you want to do for God. Just go ahead and do whatever you want to do. God sees you, and I know He will reward you. But she insisted that was what God told her. Well, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Then the time now. So from there, I came to Edmonton, and it was in Edmonton. And like I said, I've always known it's going to happen someday. But like I said, it wasn't something I was really, really looking for. That, okay, I have to be this, I have to be that. So finally, the call came that I have to go. They're going to open a new parish, and I have to be there. Honestly, I didn't want to go. That was another thing. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to do it. And she said, well, I've done mine. If you don't want to go, that's your problem. And I was now looking for umbrellas to hide on. I called my pastor in Nigeria. They said, why? I should go for it. I said, you guys don't know what's going on here. And another thing that I'll finish up with that, but one thing that I've always been praying for is that I don't want to be a minister, behind the mic, ministering to people, and my home is not together. I've seen so many things happening out there, not necessarily their fault, but honestly, because what will I be preaching? So I didn't want that. So my husband, because of his own background and because of some conversation, husband to wife conversation, like I married you, Hildah, I didn't marry minister. So I was always being very careful. When I remember when it's about the time, to actually say yes, I called him. He was away for work. And I told him, this is what is going on, this, that. Honestly, what I was expecting him is to tell me, no, I got married to Hildah, I'm not married to a pastor, and things like that. But to my surprise, he just told me, said, you know what? You better go and pray. If that's what God is telling you, go and do it. Why do I want to hide under that umbrella? So that I'll be saying I'm submitting to my husband. And I'm being real. So I don't say I'm submitting to my husband. And honestly, since then, I have no regrets. My husband has been super supportive than I can imagine. He still works far away from home, and I know he still feels, left to him, he doesn't even want to work. He wants to, he wants to work. He wants a kind of job that will make him closer to home, whereby he wouldn't have to be far away. But we know that's just for a short time. God will answer that prayer too. So, he has been very, very supportive, even if he's not around, anyhow whatever he can do to support me, he's there to support me. My children are there, also to support me, because I've seen people, doing ministry and their children are not with them. And I can tell you, it's not easy, but God has always given, God has just made it, shall I say, maybe kind of easy, but I'm happy and I'm glad, that it is God has helped me till now. So I hope I kind of make sense, because I know I went back, but, I can't just say this is a call, in the middle of nowhere. Everything added up. When God wants to take you somewhere, He won't just pick you up and say, okay, go and lead. No. He will have prepared you. He will have make you to go through some things. He will have seen maybe you're going to be obedient in little things before He commit the bigger assignments into your hands. So I give God glory to my pastor, Pastor Funke. I can't take that away from her. Hearing that, choose or use that lady or recommend that lady, and that has really helped me in my journey. Interestingly, my husband was my senior in the high school. He came for his A-levels, and this is back in Nigeria. He came for his A-levels, and that was the first time I ever met him. And why, what is the special thing about him is I do a marathon. So he represents the school in soccer and also do the 100-meter race. So somehow we were in the same house, and our house was a house that usually, we are always on the 4th place every year. So when they came, there's a way you do, all those sport things, back home then. And we now realize that our house was gradually doing better. So I remember him approaching me one afternoon like that and say, oh, were you the one that's doing the 4x4, the marathon race, things like that? And, because I actually came first. So he said, okay, you should go buy something for me at the cafeteria. So that was that. I just told him just like that. And he left because A-level was just for 2 years. He left. We never get to, talk or, meet with each other anymore until a very long time. And that should be almost, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 years, I don't know. Somehow we met again. So I was on my way to go to a bachelor's eve, and coincidentally, the friend of his friend is the one getting married. So that was how we met, and of course, one thing led to the other.
So what was the thing?
Will you marry me? It didn't just start like that. Anyway, I was still in school, so I went back to school, and because of his own background, I was a little bit reluctant. I didn't want to. He's from a Muslim background, but just like I had him even talking to somebody this morning, that was he actually a good one, a good Muslim in back then. So with the little I know then, I prayed about it. I didn't know much. I wasn't like this. If you asked me, this time around, maybe I wouldn't have even gone that direction. But I could see the green light. God gave me that green light. And even though it felt so awkward, I waited. I didn't want to go that route because of his own background. But one of the things that gave me succor, aside from the fact that God, gave me his word, was because I saw his own mom then was a Christian. So I felt, okay, it's not it's not going to be too bad or too crazy. We can work things out together. So in our own little mind then, he said he was ready to marry me. And of course, we had to carry on those that were involved. And here we are today, blessed with 4 kids. Okay, the young adults of today, I think they have too many resources. They have advantages, things they are enjoying. Somebody like me, I didn't, have that opportunity. There was no phone, no nothing. It's wherever you are. But today, even if you're not even getting enough where you are right now, there are other resources online, whether you can, it's a matter of click and you're there, you're being blessed. So I looked at, remember I told you how I gave my life. When I tried to connect those years and the years I eventually rededicated my life, maybe it wouldn't have happened that way. Maybe when I took off that time around, maybe I would have gone through, maybe it would have been a smooth drive, or not, just totally going back. I don't know. But because there was no good mentoring, there was nothing like young adults, whatever ministry, that I see around these days. The little my parents, my mom especially, that she knew, she taught me then. But I look at it from that. That was one of the things I was missing. I didn't have that much information to help me to make some good decisions, back then. And I feel even with the media, with technology and everything, if care is not taken, it's another thing for me just to be listening or somebody listening to me now. You don't have the opportunity to ask me questions. You're just listening to me. As I'm talking, you might be saying, okay, so how did she get from here to there? You don't have the opportunity to ask me the question. But when we come closer, and that's why we can still rule out the one-on-one, the face, the face-to-face idea. You can ask me questions and say, okay, so I heard you say this. So how did you do this? How did you add this? How did you? No, you're able to ask me, and I'm able to tell you how I was able to navigate around that area. So technology with online everything, it's good. They all have their place. They all have their parts to play. But we as individuals, young adults especially, they have to be very, very careful not to be distracted. There are a lot of information going on online. And if you're the one that is looking for the umbrella to hide on, and it's an umbrella that is not suitable, it is an umbrella that is not, what did Apostle Paul say? Well, all things are lawful, but not all things are expedient. Yes, it might be acceptable, it might be lawful, but is it actually expedient? So those are the questions there are so many things that if your church is not doing it, if your pastor is not accepting it, some pastor will do it. But going back to the word of God, is it acceptable? If God says, come home today, will that actually bring you home or will take you to the other way around? So for me, those were some of the things I was missing, mentoring. I didn't really have that much, until maybe, I think God is helping me now. I have a lot of mentors around me. So those are the things that we look at ourselves and we still think we're young. We look at ourselves when you think you're young, we think we have time. Meanwhile, that's the time God is using, to build us up. And if we get it right, if the foundation is right, if you want to build a pyramid, go ahead and build it. But if the foundation is not secured enough, even if you want to go that high, something is going to happen along the line. And God forbid you are way up there and you're finding yourself sinking, to the ground. So that's why, when I have passion for young people. Like some of them might be in similar situations I've been. Some people, for me, for the longest time, that was how I was telling you the other time, I can be very shy. For the longest time, I'm so just close to myself, because I don't want to tell you my story, or I don't want to tell you this, and I'm hearing it all over the place. But again, if it's the truth, if it's going to bless somebody, why not? So with technology and everything, it has brought a lot of changes. But the word I'm going to leave, for the young adults is, be careful what you're listening to. Be sure who you are following. Because if who you are following is not rooted or giving you the things that, it's acceptable by God, we're going to miss it. You might say, oh, and then I'll rise up again. But and it's not every time we have a second chance. So that's why, and not just only in the things of God, even in our everyday life. What are you doing relationship-wise? What are you looking for in getting a partner? You might not get everything you need in your partner in one person. You know what I mean? I like to talk to them about how they manage funds, how they manage their money. Yes, it's not my business, but I still stand to say, if I rewind back 10 years back, 15 years back, 20 years back, I think I'll be in a better place. So those are the things we think, oh, I'm still young, or maybe later in the future. Start now. Even if you're starting small, start. Like I said, let's keep moving. If you're not moving at all, then it's disastrous. But if you start, you build on it. We will make mistakes. We will learn from the mistakes. We will rectify and we'll move on. But if you're not starting at all, you're waiting till, maybe a particular time you want to start, it might be hard to do so. So that's why, I like to be with them, like to talk to them, like to encourage them, whatever they're doing, let's do it. We never know. The world is so small now with the help of technology. You may think you're just reaching out to your community, or maybe you're just useful to your community. God might be turning whatever you have right now and make you a blessing. Okay, so 6 years to start with. Before I started out, we're in Stony Plain precisely. Before we went to Stony Plain, we're in Spruce Grove. So I noticed there was no busing system on weekends. And I was wondering in my head, if people have to come to church, how are they going to get to church? And I had the voice of God clearly that says, who says what I'm doing in the city, I cannot do it here. So at that point in time, I just leave the case I wanted to pick up, like, I'm not doing this. And I can say, from different directions, from places I least expect people to come, they do come. Some people, of course, would drive themselves in. And of course, some people, we do a lot of picking and dropping. We do a lot of picking people up from their homes and having to drop them off. And those are the things we used to encourage, people, that the mere fact that maybe you want to serve God, you want to go to church. And because I see that as one of my challenges too. I remember back then, there was this particular church I'd have loved to attend, but of course it's far away from home, until we had the Redeemed Christian Church of God coming very close to where I was living. So I see picking people, to go to church as being a blessing, because we never know, you might not know what you're doing in the life of that person. So, and we started, like I said, we do the picking, we do the dropping off, Some people, of course, will drive themselves in. The most I've seen, I think, is about maybe 1 hour, 20 minutes from where we are. There's a lady in the town we call Maya Top. She came there for a walk and she wasn't driving. And I will hear some side comments, you know. I remember one of them saying, "Mommy, why?" Not my own children, but, you know, they will call me mommy. "Oh, that's so far." I said, well, I'm blessed. If she's blessed, I'm blessed. As long as I can still do it, I will do it. So, yeah, what would I have loved it? So, in a way, it's a kind, there's a challenge that sits around there. And that challenge is, in some cases, I'll have to do it. My husband have to do it. Or we have two ministers too that can go pick and drop. But some of the challenges is talking about gender. So if it's a lady, I have to go pick up. In most cases, I have to be the one to go do the picking up. If it is a guy, then I have the male ministers doing that for me. So you can imagine you have to be behind the mic in less than maybe 1 hour, 1 hour, 20 minutes, and you're driving around the city. That can be crazy. But in all of those minutes pass by as if nothing happened. I still have to do what I have to do. If I have what am I trying to say? A better way around that would be maybe having a kind of transport system for the church, you know, facing different direction, which was something we are looking into, but that was when the pandemic set in. And in any bad experience, I just use it as an opportunity to see what can we do better. It has its own advantage, and one of the advantage I remember especially at the peak of the pandemic, where we just have to be at home. I remember we had to do a vigil and we just put it out there on Facebook. And there was a guy, I don't know what guy, but there was someone from South Africa that actually requested that he needed prayers, I think based on the ministration of that night, from addiction, you know, drugs, sex, and things like that. Honestly, that humbled me. That broke me down. If there were no pandemic, will be one of those people that would just be, you know, ministering to the people that come to the church. And that tells me the strength that is using technology. So I received that, and not only him, other prayer requests like that, but that was heavy. And that tells me we never know who we are ministering to, and we never know who we could be a blessing. So that's the good side. So, and that is telling us these days that church is not just church within the walls. Church is beyond the walls. But are we ready? Even when I was not ready, of course, the pandemic made me ready. So in our own little way, we do Facebook Live. That's what we do for now. I'm trusting God for more hands to come help me with the other ones, you know, that'll make us to be on YouTube and whatever platform out there. Because at least with that one experience, I knew church, the word of God, is not just for the people you meet every day. It's for people you might even never meet. And that one word that they received will bring about that grand transformation.